The U.S. prison system is coming under heavy fire, and the Federal Bureau of Prisons is closing FCI Dublin, a well-known California prison, after years of reported sexual abuse against incarcerated women by prison guards. Now, alongside the Golden State Prison, 6 more facilities are closing down due to staffing shortages. What do these closures mean for inmates and staff? Here's a story with more.
The U.S. prison system has long been hidden behind steel bars and locked gates, but the darkness inside is now impossible to ignore. This week, the Federal Bureau of Prisons announced the permanent closure of FCI Dublin, the low-security women's prison situated in the Golden State, California. The prison has long been famous for years of abuse and scandal. Known grimly as a rape club, the prison at one time housed over 30,000 employees, 158,000 inmates on an annual budget of $8 billion. However, after years of rampant abuse that involved the guards, the prison's warden and inmates, the Federal Bureau of Prisons announced its closure. As for the accused, over 20 staff members now face investigations. At least 7 have been convicted of sexual misconduct. Survivors, on the other hand, describe constant fear, retaliation, and a system that looked the other way.
There was not a minute where you felt safe in that institution. But I'm very concerned for what these closures mean for everyone. They're just putting Band-Aids on everything. The culture is ingrained in the BOP, and we don't see the willingness to make the changes that need to happen. BOP as an institution has proven it cannot keep people safe.
This closure, however, is just one part of a sweeping shakeup. The Federal Bureau of Prisons is shutting down 6 other facilities, citing critical staffing shortages, decaying infrastructure, and lack of funding. Minimum security prison camps in Wisconsin, Minnesota, Colorado, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and Florida will also shutter their doors. Officials cite the physical conditions of these prisons are appalling. At the Duluth camp in Minnesota, condemned buildings contain asbestos and lead paint. At the Pensacola camp in Florida, facilities owned by the U.S. Navy are in such shambles that demolition is the only option. Dublin in California itself would require extensive, costly repairs to reopen. Meanwhile, decades of staffing shortages and mandatory overtime have stretched workers to the breaking point. Yet, while prisons close, the trauma persists. Many survivors of Dublin's abuse were transferred to distant facilities, far from their families and communities. Advocates report survivors struggle with depression and lack access to proper trauma-informed care.
The transfers were horrific. Nothing is getting better where they are. They're not able to get any kind of trauma-informed care. They're really struggling. I'm seeing huge levels of depression. It makes me feel guilty for being able to be out here and get the help I need.
Ironically, even as the BOP deactivates these facilities, it's building a $500 million prison in Kentucky. Critics call it misplaced priority. And advocates are arguing, urging President Joe Biden to grant clemency to those who have suffered abuse, a move that would send a powerful message after the controversial pardon of his son. So while closing Dublin may seem like progress, the problem runs deeper. The Senate has reported sexual abuse at most women's prisons in the United States, and corruption festers at every level.